Welcome to The Big Interview. I'm Alan Murray, and I'm here with two of the most iconic American business people, Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks, and Jack Dorsey, co-founder of Twitter, and now CEO of an interesting company called Square, which makes these little things that turn your smartphone into a credit card receiver, a cash register, basically, to use an old term.
Mobile point of service.
Mobile point of service. You guys have just announced a deal you've done together. I want to get into the details of that in a minute, but first I'd like you to talk about give us the backstory. How did it happen? I mean, this is not an obvious partnership.
It isn't?
Not to me. I mean, I think of Square as a service for small businesses. I see it in cabs. I see it with independent contractors. Not a huge retail outfit like Starbucks.
You want me to jump in, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is more obvious than you might think. When you consider that over the course of the last year and a half, we've seen literally a seismic change in behavior of Starbucks customers moving towards mobile payment on their cell phone. And when we launched this about a year and a half ago, I don't think any of us at Starbucks had any idea it would move so quickly. But we're already processing over 1 million mobile payments a week and have done over 60 million in a year and a half. So we began really looking at this very seriously. We met with many companies, and then when I met Jack and really understood what he was doing and the innovation that he was bringing with Square, it was obvious to me and everyone at Starbucks immediately that they had really cracked the code on a level of innovation that was going to be significantly enhancing to the customer.
Where did you meet?
Where did we meet?
We met at Starbucks headquarters up in Seattle.
So you went up to pitch Starbucks on this.
I went up to meet with Howard and the team because there was a realization that we should explore working together closely. And once we met and once we talked, we not only saw that we could do some really interesting things on the technology side, but also the core values of the companies really matched up quite well.
And how would you describe those core values, those aligned core values?
I think at the heart of what we've tried to do over 40 years, and I think what Jack has done with Twitter and now with Square, is to build a company through the lens of humanity, doing everything we can to bring our people along, to balance shareholder value with the value for our people. And I think this is an opportunity, I think, for both companies to come together with significant complementary assets to not only help our respective customers, but I think there's a much bigger idea long term, and that is to help small businesses and ultimately job creation in America.
And I know that's been a big push of yours. I want to talk about that in a minute, but help me understand the deal a little bit better. As you point out, you've had now for a year and a half your own mobile app. There are lots of advantages that people can use in the store to buy purchases. Yes. There are lots of advantages to having your own. You get to own all the data, et cetera, et cetera. Why did you need Square?
Well, I think Square is going to bring something that's highly complementary, and I think in addition to that, a significant amount of new innovation. I like to yield to Jack when you ask that question because he can really describe this much better than I.
Jack, why does he need you?
So we're going to move all credit card, debit card transactions processed within the U.S. stores, the 7,000 Starbucks-owned stores, over to Square. And
which, just to stop for a second, that probably doubles the size of your transactions.
Yeah, we've been operating the company for about 3 years, and we've built the system for scale. So we are ready for this volume. We've been building for this volume.
But am I right? You're basically more than doubling your business.
It's a significant amount of traffic and volume.
You're trying to avoid using any numerical values. Okay,
right.
Keep going. Talk about it.
So we'll be handling all the mobile transactions, and then we'll also be adding a new way to pay at Starbucks, which is called Pay with Square, which is an application that consumers can download to their iPhones or to Android devices. They can find Starbucks in our directory, a Square directory, which has all merchants accepting Square, and then go up to the cash register and put the app in front of the barcode reader, and it pays by linking to the credit card that we have on file with them for this application. So they have multiple ways to pay within the Starbucks.
And if I understand this, you'll be using geolocation in this? So when you walk in the store, the baristas will know you're there and know you're
Not initially.
Over time.
This is just our start. Yeah.
But that image of geolocation and the knowledge that gives the people in the store is part of what attracted you to Square?
And I think there's a big opportunity to leverage this technology across small businesses in America, which, as you know, really account for about 65% of job creation in America.
Yeah. And I will get to that,
Okay.
I promise, because
All right,
I know you're pushing it hard. But just one more question. If I use Square, you charge me 2.75% of the transaction. I assume you're not charging Howard that. I mean, because you said somewhere that you save money on this
Yeah,
deal.
we will save money as a result of the partnership.
Which raises the question of whether you'll make money as a result of the partnership.
We figured it out the right way to sustain and build a company.
But it'll be a significantly lower percentage than 2.75.
Well,
it has to be. I mean, you're probably paying maybe 2% for transactions now, right?
The thing we've always tried to do is simplify the way to get into credit card processing. And there's a lot of barriers for folks, small and large, to process with credit cards, process electronic payments. Cost is definitely one factor, but the cost is usually broken up into multiple dimensions. And Square has always tried to remove that complexity by focusing on just one number. Volume and scale, of course, changes that number. And combined, Starbucks and Square, our volume will help us even make the cost even more simple, to bring it down even more, and it'll benefit everyone.
It will benefit all Square users.
It'll benefit everyone eventually, and that's
be
always
able
been
to
our
lower
promise.
that cost.
Right.
But in a sense, democratize the interchange across the country.
So talk about that a little bit. I mean, you clearly have been concerned about job creation in the United States.
Yes.
You've been concerned about small business as the historic engine of that job creation. What does this do in that picture?
Well, let's identify the issue first off. The core issue facing small businesses in America today is that they do not have the access to credit that they once did. And that's a major issue in terms of being able to hire people and build businesses. What Square is going to be able to do, I believe, is provide new tools, new resources for these small businesses to enable them to get access to credit in a different way. But beyond that, I think, as Jack just mentioned,
But you're talking about consumer credit cards.
yeah, but I think that their business will be stronger. It will be more vital, and as a result of that, they will be able to be in a more robust position. But let me just go back to the directory, which I think is a big issue. The directory that Jack is talking about, when we look at this, Starbucks has competitors, small and large, across the country. Starbucks is going to be completely agnostic. So the playing field is going to be completely level. The directory, whether it's a coffee store or whatever it might be, everyone is going to be on that, and Starbucks wants that to be available to all businesses, small and large.
Now, you're not going to use the Square in your stores, are you?
Not at first. What we're going to do is that we've already installed at Starbucks a 2D bar scanner that will be completely compatible with Square's technology. So there's really no infrastructure cost for Starbucks.
A lot of this will happen behind the scenes. So we'll be moving those credit card transactions, debit card transactions, without any change to the counter, without any change to the Starbucks experience, but adding a new way to pay through Pay with Square, and the directory showing not only the Starbucks around you, but all the local businesses, all the local merchants around that neighborhood.
So it's going to, I mean, this is kind of like Groupon then, in the sense that you'll not only have a directory, but you'll be able to market directly to people in the vicinity through the Square app. Is that what you're thinking? Is that how it helps small business?
I think over time, I think you're getting a picture of what the vision could be, yes. And
Yep.
I think before holiday, this will be nationwide with Starbucks. And within every Starbucks store, we will really shine a light on the features and benefits and the opportunity to pay with Square.
One of the interesting things that happened after you made your announcement was that the stock price of Verifone, which makes terminals that go in stores, not in Starbucks as I understand it, but other stores, dropped fairly sharply. Is this going to lower costs for small business by eliminating the need for those kinds of expensive terminals?
I think what Square has done over the past 3 years has done has had a major impact on that. Something that Howard said earlier about getting access to consumer credit. The only way to get a merchant application, the only way to start accepting credit cards just 2 years ago was to go through a credit check. And for many small businesses, many people who want to start a business, they were denied accepting payments because they couldn't pass the credit check. So one of our major innovations was that we took a 1 day to 4 week process down to a minute. And we accept over 95% of the people who want to accept credit cards, which means that that's taken care of and they can focus on actually starting or building and growing their business.
Yeah.
So we've gotten the process down to a free reader, to no fees to start, to no monthly fees, to no monthly minimums. The money goes in your bank account the next day, and you charge and you're charged one simple rate per transaction. That's all you have to think about.
That's where the credit piece of it becomes important.
Exactly.
You get the money
Yes.
right
We
away.
make it easy to start.
So you, Howard, you probably more than any business person in this country have really focused on the social role of business leader and this focus on jobs. As a part of that, you go into a Starbucks store, you've got fair trade coffee all over the place. You did something with campaign contributions last year. Do your shareholders care about that?
Well, I think the price of admission to take these kinds of positions is performance. We must perform. We must create shareholder value. But at this year's shareholders meeting at Starbucks, we had 6,000 people come to this annual meeting. And they came to celebrate the company's success. But the success was not just based on the stock price or the market cap. It was based on the balance between profitability, social conscience, and the benevolence of the company. I think they cared deeply about it.
Jack, do you share that? I mean, at Square or at Twitter, are you pushing involvement in social issues that aren't necessarily directly tied to the business?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's, I mean, our users do a lot of this, and we amplify it. But one of the largest verticals on Square today are campaigns, charities, and causes. And if you think about going to an event and donating, if they're not accepting credit cards, you have to go home, you have to get your checkbook, you have to go get cash, and most likely you won't do anything about it. So if there's a cause that you really care about and you can act on it, and you can act on it with your credit card and they can accept that action, that intent, they are funding their cause even more.
We're talking about the United States here, but you have a global business. You, I believe, aspire to have a global business with Square. You both represent probably the best of American entrepreneurship and business ingenuity, but where is that headed? How do you feel about the direction that the country is going in terms of being able to maintain that edge in ingenuity, business ingenuity, and entrepreneurialism?
I think the entrepreneurial spirit and the American dream is alive and well. But I think we're living in a bifurcated economy where there's a huge gap between the people who have access to credit, education, and opportunities and the people who are being left behind. It should be unacceptable to every American that there's 14 million people unemployed, that we have a housing crisis, that we're spending $6.5 billion on the presidential election cycle, that we're spending $2 billion a week on the war in Afghanistan, and we're in a significant deficit of $16 trillion in debt. We are going in the wrong direction.
And so what's the fix?
Our political system is broken and has to be fixed. We need genuine, authentic leadership in Washington. Until we get that, the country is going to be in this kind of situation.
How is your campaign to get people to withhold campaign contributions until until both sides of the government show they can work together? How's that going?
Well, I don't think we ever intended to eradicate contributions, and obviously more money will be raised this year than any other time in our history, but 154 CEOs signed up on both sides of the aisle. I think we sent a powerful message to Washington. I certainly heard from lots of elected officials, including the president.
But do you feel like we're any closer to having a workable government?
I do not.
So what do you share that view?
Yes.
do you either are you supporting a candidate in the November election?
No, not yet.
You've made no campaign contributions to either side.
No.
Will you, do you think, before
No.
November? How about you?
No, I will not make a contribution.
And that's because you think the issue is getting both sides to work together,
That's
not
correct.
supporting one side or the other, and you agree on that?
Yeah.
Was that part of your conversation leading up to this?
We've never spoken about
You've
that.
never had that conversation?
Thank you for bringing it up.
Another thing you have in common is that both of you, for a period of time, stepped back from executive roles and now have ended back in them again. Why?
I've been asked that many times. I came back in 2008. The company had drifted a little bit, and I think it was about love of the company, my deep responsibility to 200,000 people and their family, and just felt it was time for me to come back, and I'm glad I did. It's the most gratifying professional experience I've had over the last 4 years.
And how about you, Jack? I mean, you left Twitter, and now you're back as executive chairman, have the impossible job of managing that and CEO of Square at the same time. So you've gone from being not an executive to a kind of super executive. Why?
Well, it's a very similar feeling as Howard expressed, but I've learned over the years that what we're really doing is designing a company to design and engineer the product. And if we get the company right, if we get the culture right, if we get the values right, and the guidelines and policies within the company, everything else takes care of itself. So I love designing and engineering and building the company more so than just the product, because it sustains and it can outlive one human life. It can be around forever.
Who's your business hero, your business model? Who do you look to?
Well, to be honest, we always look to Howard, and I personally look to Howard. He was on the top of our list as an independent director for joining our board at Square, even before the deal was considered and the partnership was considered. And we're very, very fortunate to get him to say yes to our invitation.
And who's your model? And you can't say Jack; he's too young for you to do. Who is your role model in business?
The person I've talked through the most over the last, say, decade about our business and business in general has been Jim Sinegal, the founder of Costco, who I think is a world-class executive, great merchant, and has just stepped down, retired. I don't know if you've met Jim or not.
I haven't, but was he on your board?
No, just a very good friend.
Do you use Twitter?
You know, I've been asked that so many times I'm so embarrassed every time. I do not, but if I don't change that, I think Jack is going to shoot me.
So Jack's a very passionate advocate. He converted Rupert Murdoch in December, right? Personally,
I did, yeah.
Convinced Rupert Murdoch, which has every public relations executive in this building scared to death. I don't
it's
know
working out, though.
what is your pitch? I mean, Howard's a very busy person. Why should he spend his time on Twitter?
I think the biggest thing to start is you don't have to tweet to get value out of it. You can see instantly what people are saying about your company, your culture, your brand, your thoughts. You can see the pulse of the planet immediately.
So you advocate it as a listening device more than a broadcasting device?
It's a great listening tool.
Interestingly enough, there are flat screens within the Starbucks Support Center, maybe 3 or 4 of them, and they are constantly within real time updating tweets.
Interesting.
And every now and then I find myself looking at this, shocked at the global nature of what people are saying about Starbucks all over the world.
So Jack's got the company converted, he just has to get you going. And do you drink Starbucks coffee?
I do.
How frequently?
Pretty frequently.
And what's your drink?
Well, I really love these new refreshers.
What's in a refresher?
Refresher is green coffee extract, natural energy. You haven't had one?
I haven't had one.
There's
at all stores?
They're all stores.
I go. There's one right across the street. I should go out now and get one.
We'll have one delivered today.
Great. I'll look forward to it. Thanks very much, Howard Schultz, Jack Dorsey. Thanks for being on the big interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.